On the far side of the mountain, where the fog kissed the pine trees and the wind sang forgotten songs, there stood a chapel with no doors. It wasn't marked on any map. It had no priest, no pews, no offerings. Only 4 stone walls, a broken roof, and silence that pulsed like a living thing. People called it the Hollow Place. They said it had been abandoned since the war, or since the storm, or since the priest had died. No one agreed on when. But they all agreed on one thing. Those who entered it never left the same. Elena was not one to chase stories. She was an architect, logical, precise, tethered to blueprints and steel. After losing her brother in a factory collapse, she had built stronger walls, safer foundations, better systems. But she could not build peace. She could not draw a blueprint for healing. And so one night, when the grief grew too heavy to carry, she walked through the sleeping town, past the river, into the woods, her flashlight flickering, until she found the chapel with no doors. It was just as the stories said. 4 walls, no entrance, only a narrow crack between 2 stones, just wide enough for a broken woman. She slipped through. Inside, the air tasted like old prayer. The wind did not enter. The cold did not bite. It was quiet but not empty. There was no cross, no altar, just stone and shadow. And yet, Elena fell to her knees. She did not know why. She didn't believe in myths. She hadn't prayed in years. But here, with her palms against the dust, she felt watched, not judged, not shamed, just seen, as if someone had been waiting, not impatiently, but faithfully, as if someone had known she would come. She spoke, not with words but with tears. They fell freely onto stone that had soaked in centuries of sorrow. And then, without thunder, without miracle, a light rose. Soft, golden, like sunrise caught in breath. She looked up. A figure stood at the far end of the chapel. No footsteps had sounded. No door had opened. He was simply there, not glowing with divinity, not robed in power, but dressed in linen, barefoot, hands scarred and open. His face was not unfamiliar. She had seen it in dreams, in the eyes of her dying brother, in the kindness of a stranger who held the elevator open when she was late. In her own reflection, on the nights she thought she couldn't go on, and yet did. He walked to her. He knelt. He said only one thing: "You don't have to hold it all together." She broke, and in breaking, healed. They sat in silence. Time melted. Pain softened. When she finally rose, she felt lighter, not because the grief had gone, but because she knew she didn't carry it alone. As she left the chapel, dawn painted the sky. Birds sang again, and when she turned back, there was no crack in the wall, no entrance, as if the chapel had never existed. But in her heart, the door remained open. She returned to her work, but not just with steel and cement. She began designing spaces of softness, quiet rooms in hospitals, gardens in prisons, benches in the corners of cities where people could simply sit and be. People asked her what had changed. She smiled and said, "I remembered that not all foundations are made of stone. Some are made of mercy,